Well, good morning, everyone. I want to start by welcoming all of you to our informational hearing. My name is Ed Chow. I'm the chair of the Assembly Committee on Housing and Community Development. Today, we're going to look at affordable housing, construction, and finance challenges and opportunities. The first order of business, I'd like to take care of some housekeeping matter, and that is the adoption of our rules. Since we have a quorum, so what I'd like to do is to have Madam Secretary please call the roll.
Chow.
Here.
Chow here. Steinnorth.
Here.
Steinnorth here. Burke.
Here.
Burke here. Chow.
Chu.
I'm sorry.
Here.
Thank you.
Here. Gaines. Lopez. Here. Lopez here. Thank you.
We do have quorum. A copy of the rules is in your packet, and there are no changes since last year. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the rules for this year.
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chow.
Aye.
Chow, aye. Steinnorth.
Aye.
Steinnorth, aye. Burke.
Aye.
Burke, aye. Chu.
Aye.
Chu, aye. Gaines. Lopez.
Aye.
Lopez, aye. Mullen. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you again for being here. There's no question that we are facing an affordable housing crisis in the state of California. The Public Policy Institution of California, PPIC, has identified that more than 36% of mortgage homeowners and 47% of all renters are spending more than 35% of their household incomes on housing. In California, we have about 134,000 homeless people living in our streets, parks, alleys, and freeway off-ramps. We are seeing a decrease in the number of homeowners and an increase in the number of renters. At the same time, vacancy rates are low and rents are increasing. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, California has 6 of the most expensive rental markets in the country. Nationwide, rents in 2014 grew the fastest in the San Jose and San Francisco metropolitan areas, increasing by 14.4% and 13.5% respectively. The purpose of our today's hearing is, number one, to identify the challenges to building and creating more housing which is affordable and to low-income families and individuals in our state, and two, to identify possible solutions. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my Vice Chair, Assemblymember Steinnorth, for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the introduction, allowing me the opportunity to share a few words. First, I'd like to acknowledge all of the people that are here today. Thank you very much for traveling up here and being able to share and express your concerns and the issues that are going on in your homes, to be able to assist us, to be able to do our job here. I know affordable housing remains one of the key areas that are of great concern to most districts. As Chairman Chow mentioned, the renters have increased, the home ownership has decreased, the availability of affordable homes has become more challenging, and I do believe in the value of home ownership. I do think that that is something that is the bedrock of our foundation, and I think the more that we can focus on trying to increase the amount of affordable homes for the residents of our communities, the better our districts will be.
Thank you, Mr. Steinnorth. And at this time, would any committee members like to make some opening remarks? Assemblymember Chu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, first of all, I just want to say how excited I am that this committee is tackling this topic of the status of affordable housing. For me, this issue is the most important issue I think we could be working on, and I say that not just because I represent a city with the highest rents in the country, where thousands of residents have been evicted or forced out in years, but we all know in the state there is a shortage that's estimated to be at least over 1 million affordable and accessible homes in California. We all know that with the elimination of redevelopment agencies, with housing bond monies having run out, there really is no permanent or stable source of funding. And so I very much look forward to this conversation, and I'm particularly interested in looking not just at the challenges and what the picture looks like, but looking at potential solutions. And I am excited about the fact that our Speaker, Tony Atkins, has prioritized this as an issue that she hopes that our Assembly will put together, which also includes my first bill, AB 35, which would establish a $300 million increase in our affordable housing tax credit. Look forward to the conversation we're going to have on this, and I very much appreciate everyone's interest in this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chu. If there are no further questions or comments, at this time I'd like to turn to our first panel. Our first panelist is Carol Galante. Carol is the I. Donald Turner Distinguished Professor in Affordable Housing and Urban Policy at the University of California at Berkeley. She recently served as the Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and also a Federal Housing Administration Commissioner. So welcome, Ms. Galante, and whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Chow, for holding this hearing on this very important topic. And you and your members have already mentioned several of the statistics around the affordable housing crisis. I think my job today is to add some visualization to the housing need, and I will do that promptly here. I want to just start off by saying I'm really going to make three fundamental points and then try to amplify on each of those as I walk through this slide deck. But the 3 points I want to make is that the rental affordability challenge in California is severe, and I'll walk through a number of reasons why that is the case, including wage and income levels, rent appreciation, supply issues, and tight access to credit for home ownership, which then adds burdens to the renter population as well. Second, that this challenge is particularly severe for the lower income residents of this state, and you'll see that quite visually. And third, I would just say that on the point of resources, it is going to take clearly multiple strategies. There is not one strategy that will solve all the state's problems here, and that this will need to be attacked from a variety of mechanisms. So if I could just go through a few slides for you. I think this slide here definitely shows the point, which is that rents are significantly outpacing income growth in the state. And this is starting from 2010 through 2013. So just in 3 years, you can see the cumulative impact of rent increases, while renter median incomes certainly dropped during the recession, are coming back up a bit, but not anywhere close to what it would need to be to afford the rents. Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned previously, this slide shows quite clearly that rents are rapidly appreciating in California metros. So this is a Zillow analysis of the 35 largest metros in the United States, and you can see that every major California metropolitan community is on this list, starting with San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Diego, Riverside. So all of these communities are on the top 10, 15 list here for California. As we speak about who is severely cost burdened, again, if you just look at the map of the United States, you can see that for California, this is people severely cost burdened. So this is paying 50% or more of their income towards housing costs. And we have 35% of the California population that is paying more than 50% of their income towards rent or home ownership costs. And this slide is most definitely probably one of the most striking to me, which is the impact on lower income Californians. So those who are at the lowest income spectrum, which is the bar on the far left, so extremely low income residents, those are residents who earn 30% or less than the median income. Over 90% of them are paying more than 50% of their income on rent. So that is a very severe situation in the state. So why are these things happening? I think trying to understand some of the fundamental underlying drivers of the situation. We have a situation where very low-income workers in particular have stagnant wages. So there is not, while the good news is the economy has been recovering, those at the lower end of the spectrum are not gaining in terms of wage growth as you might want in terms of them to benefit from the economy. So the top line is the mean for the state, and the bottom group of lines are for people in lower income, working people working full time, but their mean wages throughout this period of time from 2000 to 2013. And you can see that it is pretty flat on all of those different job categories. Here, what we see is, again, decreasing incomes particularly for the lower end of the income spectrum. And so on the left side, you see the United States. On the right side, you see California. And you can see that those who are in the 20th percentile, so the lowest percentile of incomes, the orange bar there, their incomes are decreasing more, whereas those who are in the 95th percentile are the only group of wage earners who are doing better, and those at the lower end are doing worse. And it's more severe in California than it is compared to the United States. You mentioned, Chairman Chow, decreasing vacancy rates. This chart just visually shows both the home ownership vacancy rate and the rental vacancy rate in California, both coming down significantly from their peaks during the crisis. So again, good news is that we're recovering. Bad news is that it is putting a squeeze on people. This speaks to the issue of homeownership versus renter-occupied, and I will speak a little more to this as I go on, but homeownership occupied units are going down, renter-occupied units are going up. There are a number of reasons why this is happening, but again, it is putting a burden on the rental stock because more and more people are needing to rent right now. Just another example of, again, the differential in where the job growth is. So California has, fortunately, in the economic recovery, a number of higher wage jobs, and that's good news. And some, the dark green color there is lower income jobs, so we've got more lower income workers. But where we're really losing is what I would call the middle income wage earner. Those jobs have not come back robustly. So again, why are we having some of these challenges? One clearly is a supply issue, and I think this chart shows very clearly that we have the green line is the population growth in the state of California, and the blue lines are, the dark blue is multifamily permits, light blue is single-family permits, and you can see during the recession, of course, the number of new units being built went down significantly. It's come back a little. Again, that's good news. But according to State Department of Housing and Community Development, we need about 200,000 units produced a year to keep up with the population growth. And in 2013, we did 83,000. And again, more rental units were done in 13 than single family, but definitely a supply issue. And so again, this puts quite a burden on the housing shortage for lower income renters. These are homes available at rents that people earning 30 and 50% less than the median income could afford, and we are, based on that measure, we are about little shy of 1.5 million units short for homes and apartments available to those renters. Why is there not more home ownership happening in the state, which would ease some of the burden on the rental situation, and also would be a good thing for stabilizing communities? There's a number of issues. One is, if you look at the statistics, California millennials, so those in the younger age bracket, are not buying homes. There's a number of explanations for that, including student debt, and, concern over what happened during the recession and whether they are ready to buy. And they were out of the job market for longer, so all those things are putting pressure on the millennials who are not buying homes. But, California has the bottom 10 major metropolitan areas for young people buying homes. The foreclosure crisis. We all know this, but it hit the dark orange and red colors there are foreclosures across the country, and you can see that California got particularly hard hit by the foreclosure crisis. And one of the things that means is those families who were foreclosed on or maybe weren't even foreclosed on but had to move out of their home because of a distressed situation, they are needing to either double up with family or to rent. So again, they are putting additional pressure on the rental stock in California. The other thing that is putting pressure on the rental stock is the very extreme tightness in credit and accessing a home loan, even for those who qualify based on income. And I could go into a lot more detail on this, but I will save it in case you have questions, or save it for another time. But the basic problem here, this chart shows credit scores across the spectrum from 2000 to 2014. And what you see here is those with good credit scores, or high credit scores above 700, which is the gray bar, are climbing back up. They're getting loans again. Those in the middle bucket there of under 680, but are coming back a bit, but not nearly the way they were, not during the recession, because forget whether you want to argue whether credit was too loose during the recession, but go way back to 2000 or 1999, and people who are quite stable are still not able to access a loan through private lending institutions right now. And then, of course, those at the very low end have just not come back at all. They're just not being served. The Federal Housing Administration typically serves those at a lower income level and with credit that maybe is not quite as pristine as the private market. And this was the organization that I ran in Washington. Even the FHA, which I think is an important point here, if you look at the red in 2007, are people with credit scores below 580. In 2014, the FHA is not serving any of those families, and even the middle bucket there is severely constrained, although, again, some credit is coming back through the Federal Housing Administration. The bottom line reason for this is that these loans are all made by private lenders, and for a variety of reasons, they are concerned about lending down the credit spectrum right now. Again, the main point of this is you've got millennials not buying, you have tight credit, you have people who are foreclosed on. That is adding a whole element of population to what was already folks facing higher rents, and that puts a burden on the rental housing stock. Last couple of slides here just to speak to the resource question. This slide shows the cuts in federal funding for housing nationwide. And these particular programs that I point out are the programs that are the ones that provide capital resources for rehabilitation or new construction of apartments and homes. And you can see that in the past 4 years, there's been, a $2 billion decrease in available federal funding across the United States. So my main point here is that the feds aren't going to save us. with additional resources. I do have a little note at the bottom of the slide. There's a tiny glimmer of good news on this slide, which is that the National Housing Trust Fund is now been turned on. It's a very I would call it a droplet in the bucket for California, and probably won't actually show up until probably 2016, go through a process of how that money gets allocated at the federal level down to the states. But I think there's $130 million available for the entire country. So California's share of that is, going to be in single-digit millions, and not enough in the first year to do much with, but over time, we would hope that the Federal Housing Trust Fund would start to provide some resources back to California. And this is just one other way of showing just one program by county in California of the impact of cuts of the Community Development Block Grant Program. And then, of course, the last slide is the state of resources for California specifically. And these numbers were a little hard to put together, so I don't want to actually swear by them. I still am trying to test how much money is left in the state housing bond funds. You may know better than I, but there's a little bit of money in the multifamily housing program, I think $100 million in the 2014 budget, and there's some few remaining sources for the homeownership programs. But those funds basically in the state bond programs are running out. You all know there's no redevelopment dollars. The good news is there is some additional money coming in from the Cap and Trade Affordable Housing Communities Fund and from the new Veterans Homeless Bill. But all in all, there still is a very significant shortfall compared to what California has had over the past decade or so. So with that, I will conclude, and I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions? Let me pose a question then. What are other states doing to address the issue of affordability that California can emulate?
A great question. So I would say different states have different needs, and as you've seen from this presentation, California is probably more challenged than most states on the affordability front. But states have adopted housing trust funds in many locations. States also do a number of things to decrease barriers to new supply, to new construction, which I think is, as I said, this is not going to be solved just likely with just new resources, and I think dealing with issues that would, if I could put it this way, bend the cost curve on the construction of new homes and apartments would be a good thing. And there are some regulatory challenges in California that mean it takes a long time to get a new development approved and built and occupied, and anything we can do to reduce that burden would also be helpful.
Got it. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. It's been wonderful. Thank you for doing all your wonderful work as well.
Thank you.
So I look forward to working with you. So with that, we'd like to bring up the next panel. Our second panel of witnesses representing organizations or individuals, including businesses, the public safety sector, teachers, and the healthcare system, will discuss the impact of the affordable housing crisis on themselves or their members. The speakers are Mr. Brian Starr, who is the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs of the Orange County Business Council. We also have Dr. Josh Bamberger, who is the Associate Clinical Professor of Family and Community from the University of California, San Francisco. We also have joining us Jesse Allreed, who is the captain from the San Jose Fire Department, and also Mr. Michael Davis, who is the Director of Policy, Planning, and Charter Schools in the San Francisco Unified School District. So we can start with Mr. Starr.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and
Morning,
members. Brian Starr, representing the Orange County Business Council. It's an honor to stand before you or sit before you today. Our president and CEO, Lucy Dunn, is the former housing director of the state of California, and so this is a topic near and dear to our heart. We represent over 300 of the largest employers in Southern California, and California for that matter, and housing is a critical issue for our members. The term workforce housing, it has many definitions. The Business Council defines workforce housing as the necessary infrastructure that Orange County and its cities must provide to adequately house the region's current and future workforce across the full spectrum of occupational categories and income levels. Workforce housing is more than affordable housing by the traditional definitions. It's housing that will encourage the diverse spectrum of occupations and income levels that make up a modern, robust, and multifaceted economy. Just as Caltrans and other infrastructure agencies create long-term plans to meet the state's current and projected future infrastructure needs over the next 30 years, local governments must similarly consider the demand for adequate workforce housing based on the long-term regional and local employment projections. In 2008, Orange County Business Council released its inaugural Workforce Housing Scorecard. This was an innovative ranking methodology to highlight the importance of housing availability in attracting and retaining workforce talent. The report concluded that new housing development would be critical in preventing an unattainable housing market for prospective residents. This landmark report opened up new conversation about the important role Orange County municipalities would play in providing workforce housing and inspired other Southern California regions to do the same. Los Angeles and San Diego also created a workforce housing scorecard. We're about to release our 2015 scorecard. This year, OCBC analyzed current and projected future trends in order to understand where the workforce housing needs in Orange County were headed, and how it will impact demographic, economic, and business competitiveness factors. Orange County produced about 35,000 private sector jobs in 2014, and new housing must keep pace with job growth. The region finds itself once again threatened by a mass egress of young skilled workers, an aging workforce retiring in place, houses upon leaving the workforce, and increased commute and time burdens on commuting employees priced out of the market are creating significant impacts on our infrastructure needs. Employers struggle to recruit and retain a workforce based on the housing problem. Year over year, OC CEOs consistently list availability and cost of housing as a major roadblock to recruitment and retention of skilled workers. This is especially true for the younger residents. Greater scarcity in workforce housing supply leads to increased limited housing options for recent college graduates. Talented early career professionals. Because of this, young adults are projected to comprise a smaller percentage of California's population over time, an imbalance that may worsen if the jobs-to-housing ratio continues to expand. The continued strength of our workforce depends on retaining its young, educated workforce and talent possessing critical skills needed by local employers. Many large employers invest heavily in higher education. In Orange County, they invest in Cal State Fullerton, UCI, and Chapman University. This allows employers to connect with an emerging workforce. Unfortunately, many recent grads are attracted to more affordable regions where the cost of living can stretch their earnings well beyond what's possible in Orange County. If left unaddressed, continued losses in this vital younger population will ultimately weaken the supply and quality of Orange County's future workforce, especially through the loss of sales tax revenue and declining school enrollments. Public school enrollments in Orange County are down in a constant decline since 2010, and our school districts face critical loss in students' funding. Lack of affordable workforce housing supply poses major problems for Orange County employers seeking to attract and retain new talent. Housing affordability concerns are frequently cited by HR departments and recruiters seeking to attract and retain key young workforce talent in thriving sectors such as healthcare, information technology, and advanced manufacturing. Even though The Center for Demographic Research predicts that Orange County will add 372,000 jobs by 2040. Obstacles to providing workforce housing make fulfilling these projections nearly impossible. A recent Social Security report estimates that 10,000 American baby boomers retire every single day. This poses a major problem for the region, depending on an aging workforce like Orange County. The county will become increasingly reliant on commuters from other regions unless a younger workforce can fill these vacancies. Over 1 million Orange County workers can be expected to retire between 2012 and 2040 based on the number of current residents, 40 to 64. Orange County's high cost forces employers on average to pay higher wages. This increased cost of living compensation premium hinders profit margins and influences long-term location decisions, especially for employers offering low to middle wage jobs. An expanded housing supply tends to alleviate this pressure on employers and allow them to extend their hiring capacity, especially to the lower end of the education spectrum. A workforce housing imbalance increases distances by where individuals live and work, increasing wear and tear on our freeways, support inner city and inter-county commuters. Long distance travel creates busier freeways, leading to greater dependence on vehicles, longer commutes and increased vehicle miles traveled, increased greenhouse gas emissions, and delayed business-to-business or business-to-consumer efficiency. Already long commute times will only worsen if the county does not adequately address the workforce housing situation. Job-rich Orange County, our insufficient housing supply has allowed commuters from Los Angeles, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties to make up a fifth of our county's workforce. We often joke in Orange County that that makes Los Angeles Orange County's largest bedroom community. In conclusion, Orange County's workforce housing supply holds the key to continued job creation, economic growth, and economic competitiveness. Insufficient planning for the workforce housing supply will impede Orange County's growth potential and continue to make our area desirable but unattainable for recent graduates, many new families, and workforce talent that might otherwise move to the county. Let me conclude by saying that the ramifications of the shortfall in Orange County's housing market will lead to far-reaching impacts on affordability, mobility, and regional competitiveness. The business community urges lawmakers to focus on long-term solutions to the housing supply and affordability problem before it becomes an economic crisis. And we are very grateful for the Speaker's housing plan. We also are very supportive of a permanent source of funding for affordable housing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.